was diagnosed with the ADHD. I was 11 years old.
Hmm.
You don't know what the fuck is going on then, right? It's a label, and you're just basically trying to fit in and be a kid. I didn't know what to do with that. As I got older, probably like 15, 18 years old, when I started writing scripts and wanting to direct little movies, then it kind of clicked for me.
When I start to think back at the beginning of the journey, my parents described me as not being able to sit still and hyper.
You're just wanting to run that fuel out and also kind of look for dopamine. But that's the shit that you know as you get a little older.
They would describe me like running around the kitchen table as a toddler, and they would just throw coins of cucumber at me, and I would catch it and just keep running. I was showing signs of that early on, showing signs of when I sat down, I was very hyper focused, which is the other hyper. So hyper focus, I was so much more right brain than left brain.
Oh, look at a little hyperactive kid. I was like giving people the finger. And so it was, my mom was a social worker. And so she just kind of intuitively understood. So she's like, okay, let's play some board games. And she'd get hyper with me and we'd dance. It was kind of embraced, but just it needed to be channeled. I can just spot someone who has ADHD. If they have a tattoo in a certain place, or if I see them smirk at something, like you just know, or the way their eyes are moving around, darting around. I've diagnosed so many people.
Did you know that I had it and
And I knew
talked
you
to
had it. And a playfulness that we as ADHD, we don't lose that. A lot of adults lose that as they get older. But actors, especially, they don't. Comedic actors, as you know, because you got to get to that place of childhood when you're doing Take Me Home Tonight or Balls of Fury. But you were probably what, 20s, 30s?
Yeah, late 20s.
Right.
Yeah.
But you were still able to tap into the playfulness.
I
Yeah.
agree. Actors benefit from being able to hold on to that childlike wonder and playfulness. That's what acting is. It's basically playing outside. Don't touch the lava when you were a kid. We all agree there's lava here and alligators. I'm Han Solo's cousin, and I'm jumping from here to there.
There's just a massive misconception around ADHD. ADHD, we hyper focus on the shit we're
Right.
interested in. And then also, we're highly empathetic. We literally feel what someone else is feeling.
Hypersensitive and empathic, and that has helped with the acting. I remember as a kid, because I couldn't sit still and my dad would lecture me, about how to be a proper human being. He would say to me, look, I don't even care if you hear everything that I say. I just need to feel like you're hearing me. So if you start to drift off, just stare right here between my eyes. So I feel like you're listening to me. That's what my dad would say to me. And as a kid, I felt that. I felt empathically. That's how I interpreted it. I was just like, oh, my dad needs this more than I do. My dad needs me to sit here. So it's these lessons I learned early on. I was just a little kid, but that's what I remember. Like that was ingrained in my mind. Oh, and so you have these moments where you have these lessons in life and they kind of mold the kind of person you are. Yes, he's running around, he can't sit still, but he's got something going on here. Fast forward to high school and I'm not doing very well in all of the left brain classes like math. If it wasn't visual, that's how I learned. If you sat me down, if I had to sit down and read a fucking book, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit still for it. But if I had a book on tape, I could just sit and just do a million things while I'm absorbing that. So I learned this later in life. That's how I learned. But during it was really tough because I would have test anxiety. I would just be like, as soon as they say, okay, you have 1 hour, I would just start sweating like
Oh,
I couldn't deal.
I'll read a line. I'll be like, was I reading that? I read it, but I didn't process it. So I'll go back and read it like 2 or 3 more times. I don't know what you would do or what you even do now with memorizing your scripts, your lines.
So much anxiety around auditioning, so much anxiety around memorizing. If someone was just like, you need to memorize this by tomorrow, and they just, or even if it was like, you can show up on the day and they'd be like, we just rewrote this scene, you need to memorize it. Like, oh, That is before I had my technique rough. I have to write it out. I have to write out all my lines. I look at the script and I write them out. I have to do that at least 3 times. It's crazy. And I feel like, it goes into my eyes, into my brain, and out my hand. I record the lines on the voice memo. So I'll listen to it throughout the day and I'll listen to it before I go to sleep. I'll fall asleep listening to my lines. It's a lot. It's a big process. I do this once I have it written 3 times, then I feel like it's in there. And still, like I like it's hard to retain. And so that's why I have my technique of improvising to fill in the gaps. And that's how I've figured out my style of acting. I just did a show. I memorized 88 pages, dialogue theater. It's basically just like me driving the show. I had to memorize so much and I did it. And I was really proud of myself, the fact that I was able to retain all that every night. I'm pretty convinced that I inherited some of my attributes from my mother. I think I got my ADD from her, which is basically how she thinks. And I got my OCD from my dad. My dad, you'd hear him screaming in the house, "Who borrowed my pen?" And you'd be like, "Why? What's the matter? Was it not in the same place, or you left it?" It's like, "No, I know it was up here. I want it down here." He was that kind of like, he was very and which is hilarious. He was very specific about who left the lights on and why are the doors open. My youngest daughter, Franny, she organizes everything. Like she's got all these little pop dolls and they're all just like lined up like on her shelf, just staring at us. She does these Legos for 18, 20 years old plus, and she fastidiously goes, and I like that. It's just beyond me.
It's soothing. It's relaxing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess yeah, that's how she gets her calm. And if it gets, out of place, she quickly gets it back into order. You look at that skill and you go, that's going to help her in a lot of ways when she's older.
The roles, though, it's not just the actor's ability to implement and be believable. It's also the roles you chose, right? You're this ping ponger who's into Def Leppard. Your hair is grown out. You're right, like you fucking like.
Balls of Fury, when it first landed on my desk, there was some hesitation where I was like, what kind of movie is this? I was reading it, and then basically I was like on the fence until they said Chris Walken, and then
Wow.
I was like, oh, I'm in. Of course, I want to work with Chris. Play this note until everyone sees you as this guy, the funny guy, the funny sidekick guy. I'll play that note for a while until I can show you I can do something else. So
Mm.
that was in my phase of playing those zany characters, which I love. Like that, like they're like Belushi, that style of like crazy. And I love those One Crazy Night movies where all this insane stuff
Mm.
happens. And I love the 80s. Take Me Home Tonight was many of my favorite 80s movies growing up, John Hughes style movies. And they said I could do, a lot of improv.
Do you remember on Take Me Home Tonight certain improv that you did?
I think all of it made it in there. Yeah. We were, oh my God, yes. All the Scarface stuff in the bathroom. I'm growling at you. I'm a lion. Talking on the giant phone and all that. Yeah, I think there was improv in every single moment. That movie, it was such a joy. That was one of my favorite movies to work on because it was two parties basically back to back, and it just got crazier and crazier. God, I love that. That was a lot of fun.
Da 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 da.
we
And
we did
I
it.
would walk 500 miles.
And I would walk 500 more.